Go ahead. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to meeting number 12 of the Region 6 Steering Committee. I'll ask I'm calling the meeting to order. I'll ask Mr. Gordon to do the roll call for us. Pat?
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, I'm going to go down the order of the members. Please acknowledge if you're with us or not. From Ascension Parish, David Wheel.
Right here, Pat. I'm here.
David, I appreciate it. And John Boudreau from Assumption.
I'm here.
Thank you, John. And then Andrew Barron from BetNet.
Present.
And Scott Soye from Iberia Parish.
Present.
Thank you, Scott. And John Clark from Iberville Parish.
Here, Pat. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, John. And Michelle Gonzalez from Jefferson. Or Maggie. Okay. And from Lafourche Parish, Amanda Wazan.
Good morning, Pat. I'm here.
Thank you, Amanda. City of New Orleans, Mark McCormick. Mark, you with us? Okay, and from Plaquemine, Mike Metcalf.
I'm with you.
Thank you, Mike. And Mark Ward from Point Coupee Parish.
Here.
Thank you, Mark. And Earl Mathern from St. Charles.
I'm here.
Thank you, Earl. And Merrill McCary from St. James. Merrill? Did he say something?
Sounded like,
Merrill, you with us? I heard something. Okay, I didn't know if he was on the phone or not.
we'll come back to it.
Okay, maybe we'll come back. Of course, Devin Foyle is no longer with St. John the Baptist. Renee has taken his place.
That's right.
Yes, and I think Renee has another meeting, and I don't see him on. From St. Martin Parish, Casey Corville. Casey, you with us?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Thank you. And Tim Mott from St. Mary Parish. Tim? And we have Mort Black
I'm here.
from Terrebonne and Kevin Durbin with West Baton Rouge Parish.
Pat, good morning. I am here. I will be stepping in and out today because I have another meeting going on, but I will try to be here for the important votes and for the important discussions. But yes, I'm here today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Kevin. And Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
I think Michelle is out.
Who's that?
Michelle is out.
Okay, let's come on.
Yeah, Jefferson, Orleans, St. John, St. Mary.
Yeah, is Michelle Gonzalez on?
Hey guys, I just joined. I can't get on my computer, but I'm on my phone.
Okay, great, Michelle, thank you.
Which parish is that?
That's Jefferson. Okay, so we
Orleans and St. John.
yeah, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4. We only have 4 absent, so that's good.
So we have a quorum.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon, and we have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is review and adoption of the minutes of the March 24th, 2021 meeting. The efficient Mr. Gordon and his staff have sent the minutes to you previously, so I'll entertain a motion to adopt the minutes as prepared.
This is Earl. You got it.
Thank you, Earl. Is there a second?
John Boudreau, second.
John seconded, so we have a motion and a second to adopt the minutes of the March 24th, 2021 meeting as they have been written. Any objection to that motion? Hearing none, the minutes are adopted. Thank you very much. The next item, subcommittee update, the Region 6 Floodplain Managers Subcommittee. Adam,
Yep.
that's you?
Yes, so our last meeting was on April 14th. The main discussions at that meeting were around outreach efforts that the communities do. And we kind of got an update from the CRS program, Mr. Olivier. So that's kind of where we are. And we're planning a meeting for June. There is the Louisiana Floodplain Managers Conference this Friday. Virtual, so that will be also an event, but that's later on in the presentation. We have it up. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Adam. Next item, the proposed scoring of round one regional projects. Mr. Gordon, you want to discuss that?
Certainly. The two objectives for today's meeting is to establish a round one scoring criteria and to give y'all an update on the outreach and communication for the governance recommendation. And so jumping right into the scoring criteria, Adam and myself developed, out of the minutes, developed option 1, 2, 3, and 4. Based on the discussions that were made at the last meeting. So option 1 was to accept the scoring of the Louisiana Watershed staff and fund the top projects up to $5 million. Option 2.
Oh, wait, yeah, but there's an important little default here on option 1 that if we don't make a decision
Thank you.
by April 31st, then this will become the default option if we don't select something else.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. And I was going to probably go back to that, but that is correct. That is the default option if we don't come to some decision.
Yeah, it's April 30th, not 31st.
Okay, April 30th. How can we do that?
I'm sorry.
I should have caught that, I'm sorry. Option 2 is to amend scoring criteria of the LWI by funding the top projects from state scoring based on their points assigned to effectiveness in minimizing risk, project cost, implementation, and if the project will exceed $5 million, the next eligible project would be selected. So option 3 is very similar, but a little different. Have all members review, score, and score all projects based on watershed scoring criteria by effectiveness in minimizing risk, project cost, and implementation and social benefits. And if a project would exceed $5 million, the next eligible project would be selected. So the big difference between option 2 and option 3 is that option 2, we're going to be using the state scoring on effectiveness and project cost, whereas option 3 will be using the state scoring criteria, but we'll be doing the scoring. So just to let y'all be aware of that. Then option 4 is have all members rescore all projects using LWI scoring criteria. So we did receive 12 responses back on the survey that were submitted. I sent it out probably 3 times to all the members. I believe we only had 4 members that didn't submit a recommendation. And based out of that, option 1 had 1 vote, option 2 had 1 vote, option 3 had 9 votes, or 78%, and option 4 had 1 vote. So based off of the survey, we can either, someone could make a recommendation and a motion, and then we can open it up for discussion, or we can open it up for discussion now. It's just up to the members.
Well,
This is Amanda. I think based on I guess it looks like it's overwhelmingly option 3. So based on that, I would make a motion to move forward with option 3.
Thank you, Amanda. Is there a second to Amanda's motion for
This is
option
Michelle.
3?
This is Michelle. I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on this motion? Basically would be to discuss option 3, which indicates that we create a subcommittee to figure out what the sub-scores to include for region priorities, but that's going to be among ourselves to
That's
do
correct.
that. So I do like that option. I think it gives us a bit more control, if you will, or more skin in the game. Any other discussion on the motion? Then hearing none, are there any objections to the motion? Hearing no objections, the motion's passed and we have adopted option 3 going forward. And I guess, Mr. Gordon, you can report that to LWI.
Yes, we'll do that. I'm sure that we'll put together the minutes this week with those with the motion and cover letter, send it to Ms. Jones with LWI and have that part of our recommendations from Region 6 for scoring criteria.
Good deal. Good deal. You hear that,
Hey,
Nicolette?
Pat. Yeah. Can I ask a quick question? I just want to make sure I'm hearing your recommendations. So, are you all planning? So, it looks like you're planning to score the projects, but are the priorities different from the state, or what is that? Could you explain the difference?
It's the same scoring criteria. It's just that the subcommittee will use the state's criteria in doing the scoring on effectiveness in minimizing risk, project cost and implementation, and social benefits.
So you all will be scoring just the projects based on those 3 characteristics?
That's correct.
Okay.
Using the rubric that y'all created.
Okay. And then for the process, have you all discussed how you'll be doing the scoring?
I just finished saying that we would use the state scoring.
Like,
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
we're going to use the criteria of the state.
so all members will review and score them and then send them to us.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Great.
Thank you. The motion was adopted. So, Mr. Gordon, looks like
And I probably should have talked to Nicolette before we went forward with this, just to let her know how we were proceeding.
okay, well,
But she was aware that we were doing the survey.
yeah, we'll bring her up to speed on it.
Yes.
All right. Now we want to talk about the outreach action plan for Region 6, what we've done, meetings attended, et cetera.
Yes.
Hey, Mark, this is Kevin Durbin, West Baton Rouge. I didn't realize you guys were going to be voting on those options. I just wanted to let you know for the record, West Baton Rouge voted yes on option 3. I'm sorry I'd stepped out, but it just stepped back in.
We got you, Kevin. We got you. We got you.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. We know you're busy. Everybody's busy.
All right, Ms. Gordon, you want to proceed with outreach and communication?
Yes. Well, we've been reaching out to parish administration and then to the parish councils or police juries. And so far, we've made presentations to the Terrebonne Parish Council, LaFouche Council, St. John Council, and Assumption we'll do tonight. And we've already met with the administration and the parish presidents of Terrebonne, LaFouche, St. John, St. Charles, St. James, and I didn't give Adam Iberville and West Baton Rouge. Need to add those, and I apologize. But tonight we'll be doing Assumption, and we're lining up meetings before the next meeting with the rest of the parishes. But that's not the only outreach we've been doing. We've also submitted the talking points to all the official journals in the 16 parishes, which will be printed in the legals. We've also placed it on our website. We have placed it on Constant Contact. We have, so we've done a lot of outreach just locally. Also, we've contacted the nonprofits that are within the region. BECnet, we've sat down with their new executive director. We had a meeting with the director of Wetlands Discovery Center. I've been in communication with Restore and Retreat. We just recently had a meeting with the Chittimacha Native American organization in St. Mary Parish. I'm reaching out to the Upper Delta Soil and Conservation District, and we hope to get many more nonprofits on this list. As we're going to each one of the parishes, I'm asking the parish presidents and the administration if there's any other stakeholders within their parish that we need to reach out to. I also do the same thing at the council meetings. I give them my card, I give them my email address. So if there's any other nonprofits or government entities that we should be reaching out to, I ask them to make that contact. So we have also brought on Henry and Associates. That's Dave Cody, who is going to help us with the outreach in putting together editorials for newspapers, other forms of outreach that we can use besides what we've already done. And the state will be paying them to do that. So we've notified him last week. I have 2 conference calls with Henry and Associates, and we're going to be coming up with a plan for May to have as much outreach as possible. So does anybody have any questions regarding that, I guess?
Hey, Pat, I apologize. I hadn't sent out something to you in reference to the meeting here in Ascension. And I will, but you can, on May 6th, we have our West Ascension Drainage Board meeting that you and I talked about. So you can put that on your calendar, and I will send you out a meeting request right after we get through with this. And I'll try to get the parish president to come early for that meeting on the 6th.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Look, I think it's important for you as the representative of your parish on the steering committee to make every effort to attend that meeting with Mr. Garden or Mr. LaForte in your parish when they occur. I have made an effort as chairman to do that as well in other parishes besides Terrebonne. But I think you guys are the sort of the face of this effort in your respective parishes, and I think it's important for you to be at that meeting or meetings if at all possible. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Sure.
What else, Mr. Garden?
I'll definitely be there. I'm at those meetings every month, so, but yeah, we'll be there.
Okay, and so for those that haven't responded back to me, we're going to be making contacts with your parish and reaching out to the parish president, reaching out to the parish council, because we're under a deadline. We have to do this by the end of May. We want to be able to put together the final recommendations, build that into our final provisional recommendations, and then submit to the state. And actually, we've gotten some great feedback. A lot of it has been all positive. I was at St. John last night, and a couple of the members said, "You mean we don't have something like this in place already?" there's no state agency that looks at the overall drainage of the state. You know, they were amazed that this isn't something that's already been in place. So I think it's being accepted with open arms. And just like everyone else, they want it to be limited on the regulation and enforcement. They want local government to have a say in it. And that's definitely where we're headed.
Yeah, I think that's important, but I believe that based on what I saw last night in Lafourche Parish, that an effort like this on a regional basis would be most welcome. I think Amanda might agree to that. You too, Adam. Fortunately, given all that rain, we did not have similar problems in Terrebonne, but Terrebonne has been very fortunate in spending a lot of money and acquiring a lot of assets and financial resources to do those kinds of things that need to be done. Anything else, Mr. Gordon?
I believe that's it at this time.
All right, so no additional meetings are scheduled yet. So you'll notify those parish representatives.
I have some emails. In fact, I just got today that are lining up other meetings, but.
Well, let me know too, because I'll make an attempt to attend if I can.
Yeah, you and Kevin both have been coming. So
good. Anything on the steering committee coordination, or that we covered that?
Yeah, we're still on the timeline of the state awarding possibly at the end of May. We're thinking the $6 million. The regional selection recommendations will be due in the summer, and of course we'll need to have that subcommittee appointed by you, Mr. Chairman, and perhaps anyone that's interested in being on that could send in emails and I can forward those to you, or
yeah,
we can discuss that at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think well, I think at the next meeting we're going to have this decided by then. So if you want to serve on that subcommittee to look at that was discussed under option 3, let Mr. Gordon know. I think having, say, 5 people on it would be sufficient. I'll be on it ex officio, and we'll try to get things done before the next meeting if possible.
Okay.
So let Pat know if you want to serve on that subcommittee.
Mark.
Anything else? Yeah.
So, and I'm just thinking ahead, and naturally I do want to be on a committee, but wouldn't it be important for once we get these applications that we have a short presentation, because it's hard to read into some of the objectives and benefits from just reading a document, and those folks that submitted applications can better articulate exactly what those projects entail and the benefits of those projects. So I'm just looking at it a little differently. Is just, I think that if we're gonna be a committee and we want to see the overall picture, more than the application is probably needed, and we can do it by Zoom. But you know, I'm just looking at it to be able to make a good scoring sheet for each project, is having those somewhat presented to articulate exactly what's the benefits.
Okay, John, there may be a good idea if we're looking at making our round 1 recommendations by sometime during the summer. That right?
Yes.
Okay, so we just have to have the scoring criteria by the 30th, which we've already done. We've selected that. All right, the option 3. In round 1 recommendation sometime during the summer. I think it may be possible to do that, John, to to have a brief presentation. Because how many projects are we looking at,
We're
Cal?
looking at 30 projects.
Ooh,
Like, and I don't know if that's some conflict of interest, because I know we had to already, the levy district did present, because they didn't want to have conflict of interest going in before the scoring.
yeah, that logistically, it could make for a very long meeting.
Let me ask you this. Is the state doing this, Nicolette? Nicolette? Okay, well, we can get back with Nicolette. Let's just take
Oh,
this.
I'm sorry. I had to double unmute.
Yeah.
So no, the state is not doing this. The issue, I think, could be just because this is a competitive process. You may, and you could potentially give some people an unfair advantage if they're able to present in person. But we did not do that with the state. We did not hear presentations from the applicants, you know, I think because of the sheer number. So the projects are scored based on the information in their application. So what the state could do if you needed technical support, we could provide, if you had any issue with viewing the application or interpreting the application, the plans, etc., we could help provide technical support to your committee members if that's needed. But the applications on the state side are being scored based on the information provided solely in the application.
And the applications were fairly involved, as I recall. Mr. Gordon?
Yeah, just a suggestion. Perhaps, Mr. Chairman, you should appoint a subcommittee, and then among the subcommittee, they determine how they will go through the scoring process. And I think it's premature to start talking about how you're going to score them. We've already passed the criteria. That's been put in place. Now you need to appoint a subcommittee, and I think the subcommittee should be the one, the group to make this decision.
All right, well, we've already got two people on the subcommittee. We got John Boudreau and myself.
Amanda Compton, she wanted to be on.
Amanda, okay. Anybody else?
Well, I know Kevin Durbin said he wanted to be on.
Okay.
Hey, this is Michelle. I'll volunteer.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, I think that's sufficient. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I will avoid any ties. So, okay. I'm going to get with Mr. Gard and we'll figure out the best time for the subcommittee to get together. It may not need to be before the next meeting, but maybe so. All right, thank you. So we have John Boudreau, Amanda Warzak, Kevin Durbin, and Michelle. What's Michelle's? Michelle, your last name? Gonzalez, I'm sorry. All right. So that's the subcommittee, duly appointed by the chair. And anything else, Mr. Gordon?
No, that's all I have.
All right. Do any members of the committee have any comments? Well, hearing none, then we'll go into the closeout phase of the meeting. Are there any members of the public on this call who'd like to make a comment?
Hey, Mark, this is Kyle Galloway. I'd like to make a comment if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Kyle Galloway with GIS Engineering. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you as we've gone through all this process and also through other things. And I'll ask y'all's forgiveness if this comment comes too late since you just voted on it. But I noticed that the scoring criteria that y'all just voted on, option 3, had a note that if projects exceeded the $5 million limit, that you'd go to the next project. And I just wanted to suggest I specifically asked OCD and the Watershed staff during the FAQ period, whether they would consider partial awards, and the answer I received was that they would consider that, provided that a partial award would achieve the national objective, basically meaning that partially constructing a project would have independent utility for all intents and purposes. So I know that there are applications in Region 6 that are going to exceed, either by themselves exceed $5 million, or you might be interested in doing multiple projects that add up to more than $5 million. And I know that some of those projects, could benefit from a partial award, so then an applicant might have applied for a $5 or $8 million project, but if you gave them $1 or $2 million, they could construct a phase of that would be beneficial. So my understanding is that you do have that option, and I would just encourage the steering committee to take advantage of that. If that turns out to be the steering committee's desire, that you see a project like that you can't afford the whole thing within the $5 million, but you want to do some partial award. So I just wanted to bring that up again. Forgive me if I'm coming in too late, but maybe this committee could consider that and present an amendment or something like that. So I just wanted to put that out there and encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Mr. Gordon, you have a
Well, the interpretation that I received from OCD was that all projects needed to stand independent of one another, the phases. So if you had a phase of engineering just for the project, for a specific project, and it was listed as such in the application, that could be considered. But if an application was submitted and it doesn't have the phases in it, then how can we determine, based on the application, that we can have a partial award made on that project? So I see it as being, it's necessary that the application would have been structured in a fashion that partial award could be made.
That makes sense.
And, Nicolette, you may want to join in on this, because I had that discussion with your office, and that was my understanding.
Hey, this is Pat Forbes, Office of Community Development with the state. I think that this is great discussion, by the way. I'm thrilled with the conversation. I think that what the state would want to do is be as open as possible to what ideas you may have as a region. I think that we have made it clear from the very beginning that we're all learning through this together. And I think that it would make sense. I'm not familiar with the conversation that Mr. Galloway is talking about, nor with the policy around that. And I'll follow up and try to find out. But I would say, as your subcommittee is considering approaches to this, I would keep an open mind and make requests, so that, I mean, we're going to see what other regions ask. We may get the same question from everybody, and we need to be, we want to be as flexible as we can and still maintain the integrity of the competitive process. So I would just suggest that when you get that subcommittee together and they're thinking through it, ask those questions of us so that we can respond and give you as much flexibility as possible.
Thank you, Pat. We'll do that.
And I think, just to be clear, the thing that Mr. Galloway was talking about was it is imperative, because of CDBG rules, that we meet a national objective with an expenditure. So it's not paying for the engineering on a project and that's it, is not the same as building one phase of a project that by itself, standing alone, has risk reduction benefits.
Yep, good point.
Right,
Good point.
And if I can speak to both of y'all's points, Mr. Gordon and Mr. Forbes, I think that at least some of the applicants who had larger projects, kind of had the same understanding as what y'all are expressing right now and structured their application so that, say for instance, if it's a dredging project that totals $8 million, then they might have broken it up by reach to where each reach is $1 or $2 million so that, by itself, that reach meets the national objective and is within the funding limitations of the region. So that, and doing this with the thought process of maybe they'll get the full funding from the state, but if not, they wanted the region to have the opportunity to look at it as well. So I know that those applications are out there, and I just wanted to express that to y'all so that you can remain open to that.
The other thing, if you read what Rachel Sanderson put into the chat, it says must not exceed a total award amount of $5 million per region. There's also, I would imagine, the option of kicking in local funds for excess over the 5 if a project were selected and other funding sources were available. So I only say that to emphasize what I said earlier, which is keep your options open and ask questions, and we're going to be as flexible as we can.
Hey, everybody. Pat or the chair of this group, do I have a chance to kind of step in here and just tell you what my understanding has been from Region 7 in our conversations with the state?
Yeah.
So Rachel Sanderson, I work at Capital Region Planning Commission. I'm the Region 7 Watershed Coordinator. Based on those round 1 policies and procedures and the guidance that we've received from Evelyn Campbell and Nicolette Jones, we were told that it's possible to award more than $5 million, but that essentially the only scenario or case in which that occurs is if the funding is matched by other regions. So if there are projects that span multiple regions, and so let's say, Region 7 and 6, we see something that's mutually beneficial, we could dedicate 3, I could dedicate 2, vice versa, however that works. But within that round 1 policies and procedures, specifically on page 24, that lays out the regional process. And so just put in the chat pod, a project can be selected to receive funds from more than one region, but the project award size cannot exceed $5 million from any region. So we had that discussion as well about local matching funds, and we're told that this round, that's not necessarily an option. So just want to bring that up, that maybe before you make any decisions, do a little bit of, maybe talk with the project staff at OCD about that. I think that's maybe Lakeisha Hart, Pat, if I'm remembering correctly, but just double check that.
Thank you, Rachel. That's interesting.
And Mark, and that just brings up my point about engaging in the scoring and speaking to folks is to find out from them on some of their submittals if there's other funding sources that they potentially can get hold of in our decision and seeking the benefit is being able to know that to properly score and put recommendation to the whole committee. So it's going to be a extensive process if we need to engage, and I think we do if we want to get the best projects funded. And find, even though those projects might be above what we have in monies, we can then start the discussion of, okay, what about portions?
John, you might be putting the cart before the horse here. I don't want to commit to presentations from anybody, but that does not exclude the subcommittee or the regional steering committee from reaching out to the entity which put together the project application to get more information if necessary. But
I don't want to put an unfair criteria on any one application, though. If you do it for you single out application, you might have unfair criteria set up.
Well, if you carry that to the next logical step, then we don't need to hear from anybody, and we can make our decision based on the actual application that was submitted, which, as I recall, was a pretty thorough process. So,
And then just also, I don't think Nicolette's on the call anymore, but I think Pat, you're here, so you can speak to this a little bit more. But we were told that we cannot actually reach out to the applicants to be able to suss out or gain additional information outside of what's in the application. It's considered a conflict of interest, and it's not an alignment, or not a conflict of interest, but it's not an alignment with the competitive process that's set up by HUD.
okay.
Well, let me say something about
Sure,
this.
Pat.
I apply for applications, EDA, DRA, core, all kind of projects I've applied for. And I know that if I want to up my chances of being funded, I'm going to try to put up as much non-federal funding as possible. And these applications should be reflective of that. They should be reflective of other money that is coming forward outside of the CDBG disaster recovery funds, and that could up their chances of being funded. Federal government looks at partnerships all over, and that what you're describing, John, should, in my opinion, be part of the application. Now, if it's not part of the application, I don't think we should be calling them and finding out, look, if you put up another $1 million, we might be able to fund it. That doesn't make any sense. It should have been in the initial application. And that's the way the state has always treated local communities that I'm aware of. And I think that's probably the route we should take.
That's a good point, Mr. Garden. That's a good point. Is there any other discussion on this particular point before we move on? Well, hearing none. Pat, you want to run those key dates by us again?
Yeah, if Adam could get them up again, let's see. So April 31st, we're going to have the scoring criteria in to OCD. Oh, April 30th, I'm sorry. And then, of course, the summer, round one recommendations will be coming around. I don't know when the state will be making the awards on the $60 million, but after that time, they're saying at the end of May, but since Mr. Forbes is on, Pat, do you know if we're still on that timeline?
I'm sorry, question again, Pat, sorry?
Yeah, Pat, the question was, does it look like the state will be making the awards at the end of May for the $60 million in round one?
Yes, sir. That is still the schedule by the end of May. They're moving as fast as they can. Hopefully it will be before then, but as soon as the scoring committee gets done, there will be a special meeting of the council to approve those and move forward so that you'll have your list then. Okay, well, great. The next month, we should be able to start taking action on our recommendations. Thank you.
So June, July, maybe we
June,
can.
July, yeah, I think it'll be July probably.
All right, we may be able to have that done by, say, the end of July.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, upcoming events.
Just what I mentioned earlier about the Alpha May annual conference. This Friday, they broke it out into mini sessions. So this Friday is the first one, and then this is the rest throughout the year.
And these will be Zoom, right?
Yeah, all virtual.
All virtual.
Okay, interestingly, the Police Jury Association of Louisiana has got an in-person conference in Baton Rouge, May 12th, 13th, and I think the 14th as well. But then the State of the Coast Conference is in June afterwards, and that's all virtual. It's going to be interesting. We have to record a session for that. It's going to be crazy. Anyway, all right. Our next meeting is scheduled for May 26th at 10 o'clock. And I assume we'll do it by the same method here, Zoom, mostly. So if there are no other comments from anybody, public or members of the committee or staff, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Amanda. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll
Nobody
second it.
Who's that?
David, I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any objection to the motion to adjourn? Well, hearing none, we are adjourned at, what's that? 10:54.
Good job, Mr. Chairman. Keep it on the dial.
Thank y'all very much. See you next month.